Good morning, OUA, and welcome inside OUA Today. I am Marshall Ferguson, here to remind you that Around the Bay was yesterday. If you were a part of it, involved at all, know someone who was involved and had a lot of fun, send us your pictures at OUA Today. That is the name of the show. That is the name of the Twitter handle. Lots of OUA coaches and athletes involved. Real quick for you, my favorite Around the Bay story, I guess, would have to be in 2010, watching Coach Stefan Potadzik here of the McMaster Marauders men's football program run the 5K with his son, Chris, on his shoulders. Best thing I've seen. And my favorite Around the Bay story of myself, I ran it 2 years, 2010, 2011, as a part of Team CHML right here in Hamilton. And after the first time I ran it, that was probably the first time I had run 5 kilometers as hard as I could. Pretty competitive guy, so I went for a bit of a jaunt. And when I finished the 5K, I went inside Cops Coliseum, which is now First Ontario Energy Center, I believe. Ran right through the hockey rink, ran straight up the street to Hess, and grabbed a beer. Nothing says athletics like running 5K as hard as you can and then trying to replenish with a Rickards White. A squad of Ontario firefighters yesterday as well had a much slower time than the Guelph speedsters that actually won the Around the Bay. They ran 5K though in 70 pounds of full bunker gear. Imagine when you see firefighters showing up to a 5-alarm fire or like that East Village explosion that was in New York City this past week. They ran 5K in that. The aim was to raise awareness for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, among first responders. That is a very valiant cause. How to listen to the show? Go to tunein.com, search CFMU 93.3. I already tweeted out the link for you, so go to @OUA Today, or you can get at me at Marsh2Fergs on Twitter as well. Coming up over the next 56 minutes, I will talk to myself with a microphone in front of my face about Kobe Bryant documentaries. Watch Muse if you can find an hour. That's a heck of a documentary. Kobe Bryant made his own film. It's awesome. Should send out the link for it. It's pretty great. CFL E-Camp with Sportsnet's Justin Dunk will be at 9:25. The ridiculousness of said E-Camp, we'll talk about that. CIS Curling Championships and a whole whack of other stuff, whatever we want to talk about, with Shelby Blackley of the Cord from Laurier at 9:10. Hashtag Rams Talk. If you're not familiar with that, I'll update you on that in just a second. Archery and athletic facilities at Waterloo. Who is U of T Bob? Ottawa Poutine Fest. The OUA Ultimate All-Star Bracket Elite 8 begins today. And no Scott, no Amanda. I told the more talented half of this radio show to take the day off because they've worked so hard lately. I said, you know what? Give it a break just for one day, guys. They're probably going to have to cover for a couple of shows for me in the summer when I'm out running around, hopefully doing some fun summer things, which I know we're all looking forward to right now, based on the weather starting to kind of warm up, but not really. I talked to some people in Kingston yesterday, and they were like, it's not that nice here. Well, all the snow went away in Hamilton for the most part, but there's still this freezing cold wind. So anyway, summer is coming. Believe it or not, the Blue Jays will be back soon. And they're going to have to cover for some shows for me. So I agreed to do this one on my own. I'm happy to be with you. I'm glad that you have tuned into the show. I think that based on the weekend's events, we will have a nice large listener group right now. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, again, at OUA Today or at Marsh2Fergs on Twitter. Love to hear from you when I'm all alone, locked up in the studio. I'm going to get into the starting 5 for you right now. And I think that it is worth getting into just based on the fact that, it's the off season, and a lot of the time in the off season, everyone thinks, everything calms down. There's really nothing going on. And I used to think that when I played football as well. What I'm starting to discover more and more as I look around inside the OUA is it never really stops. It's kind of like the NFL in the sense that we talk about there's no off season, there's just a non-playing season. I think that that's a bit of a reality that I am coming to realize right now inside the OUA. There's always stuff going on, and whether or not it's in competition or not doesn't really matter. There's just always a lot going on. So, going to get into the starting 5 for you real quick. We're going to fly through this one because I want to get to our interviews because we have some great people lined up today. First, Ryerson Rams supporting mental health initiatives. On Wednesday, the Ryerson Rams hosted hashtag Rams Talk on their Twitter account. It's similar to Bell Let's Talk. The idea was to create conversations about mental health, specifically surrounding the student-athlete experience. For every retweet, 5 cents were donated to the student-athlete mental health initiatives that the Ryerson Rams are supporting. They sent out a tweet on, I believe it was Wednesday evening, could have been Thursday morning as well, basically saying, excuse us for being a tad overwhelmed, but hashtag Rams Talk totals are in. almost 89,000 tweets, retweets, and favorites amounts to close to $4,500 sent to @MentallyTough, which is the group that they partnered with. They said, thank you. I gotta say thank you to the Ryerson Rams. That's insane. And one day, and the thing is too, and I don't know if this is a positive or negative, but I didn't really know what was going on. So I wanted to make sure that I got that in because it popped up out of nowhere and I supported it through the OUA Today Twitter account. And I think they did a great job in one day. It's kind of splash marketing like I talked about last week with the CIS Super Championship. Number 2 on the starting 5, creative expression periods at Waterloo. The Waterloo Warriors staff posted a picture from Rolly Webster, their athletic director, taking part in archery lessons. I wish my workplace would let me go take archery lessons with them. That seemed like a lot of fun. And another note around athletic facilities for the Warriors up at Waterloo. Again, Rolly Webster, Director of Athletics and Recreation, announced that a $2.4 million improvement has been approved to the PAC. Enhancements coming due to a partnership with the University of Waterloo and its students. Does that mean a hike in tuition? I don't know. But it is a good thing because I think Waterloo is much in need of some great facilities. Their football field is awesome. I love their football field, but there's some other areas I'm sure that they could use. Number 3 on the starting 5, University of Toronto Women's Volleyball. Congratulations to the University of Toronto Women's Volleyball team who this past week had a banner-raising ceremony to celebrate their OUA championship from this past season. At Blues_volleyball, at Blues_V-ball is their Twitter account. They said, great Varsity Blues banner-raising ceremony. Congrats to all, and thank you to many, ... including you, Bob? Who is Bob? There's a man in the front of the picture. I looked at the website, coaching staff, trainers, and there's no Bob. If somebody from U of T can let me know who Bob is and why we're thanking him, I would love to know because he apparently needs to get some credit and I'd love to give him a shout out. Number 4, the University of Ottawa Poutine Fest. Poutine Festival is back for the second edition from March 30th to April 2nd. It starts today, every day for a week. Enjoy the best selection of street food in the city on the FSS Terrace. The event will host a fleet of poutine options for every palate. Stop in for some food, fun, and music. The vendors feature Big D's Dog House and Poutine Emporium, Fatty's Fabulous Foods, Golden Fries, The Grilled Cheesery, Green Papaya, and Mr. Choritos.
That's filthy right there. Big nasty deuce.
Easy, Greg Zahn. It's not baseball season yet. You can't be talking about big nasty deuces. And for those that don't know, that's a big splitter in baseball. That sounds like a lot of fun though. Food trucks are the best. Is there anything better than a food truck? Actually, there is. Gavin Resch's display picture. Go check that out. Look up, I don't have his Twitter account in front of me, but Greasy, something like that. Carleton men's basketball player Gavin Resch, senior leader for them. He's got an awesome display picture. It's Dave Smart-esque. I'll let you look it up for yourself. And the last one, starting 5 here, Robotics Championships held at Nipissing. E-gaming is crazy. Is anybody else familiar with e-gaming? I watched the Call of Duty World Championship Tournament recap video over the weekend. They sold tickets. It's sold out, this huge auditorium. It was like stadium seating to go watch people play video games. We might just do a whole show in the summer on e-gaming and its influence, and it's like, how long until the OUA is offering scholarships in e-gaming? It sounds ridiculous until you think about it and you realize, you know what? That kind of makes a lot of sense. It's starting to happen in the United States. It'll eventually trickle up here. 1 million payout to those Call of Duty World Champions. Can't believe that. Anyways, Nipissing Lakers. They said Laker Athletics would like to welcome everyone involved in the first ever robotics event taking place at the RGS Nipissing Athletics Center. Neat Sager from Yahoo Sports then responded by saying, that's not true at all. Nipissing hosted Carleton and the Scrub Brothers in basketball this year. Yeah, the Scrub Brothers are robots, but they're sexy robots, Neat. They get the job done. Thank you to the Ottawa Senators as well, said the Carleton Ravens on Twitter this week, for hosting us in our men's basketball national champions. Your hospitality is always first class. This sounded a pretty cool picture. They got to go to one of the games when the Hamburglar was still on fire. I don't know anything about what's going on over there, but that seems like it was a lot of fun. And I know when we won the Vanier Cup in 2011, we got to go out on the Hamilton Bulldogs ice and get recognized and took the big team picture with some of the guys dropping the puck. So that's a pretty cool event for everyone that was involved there. And my last tweet, this literally has nothing to do with the whole week. I just wanted to give him a shout out because I think he's a great follow and a great dude. Matt Uren, at Matty Uren from University of Western, slot back, running back, kick returner, whatever the heck you want him to do. He's great. I found a tweet from this week that said, just went through my old tweets. Damn, I need to start tweeting again. I am hilarious. I don't disagree with you at all, Matt. I think you are really funny. So get back on Twitter, and if you're able to, give him a follow as soon as you can. We are going to take the break. When we come back, I'll be speaking with Shelby Blackley from Laurier and the Golden Hawks. She's the first return visitor on OUA Today. Is she a fan of the show? Does she listen when she's not on? We'll find out. Coming up right after this. You're listening to OUA Today on CFMU 93.3.
After the final ball has flown, and the final catch made, and the last screaming fan has left the stadium, the ball is passed from one team member to the next so the players can sign their names. But of all the names, there is one on that ball that is perhaps the most important. That name is Wilson. Good luck this season.
Welcome back inside OUA Today, everyone. Marshall Ferguson in studio, joined on the phone from our first return guest to OUA Today. She's just that talented. She's really earned this honor. Shelby Blackley, how are you this morning, and how excited are you to be the first return guest in OUA Today history?
I'm pretty excited. I didn't know I was the first returning. Yes.
Well, you're the only one that likes coming on. That's the issue. No. No, I played this song for you. I wanted to play in with it because even though he says murderer, it sounds like curl the rock. And you were around CIS Curling, which was hosted by the Laurier Golden Hawks last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. I've lost track of time. You probably have too. The Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks curling team capped off a successful season under your watch, your caring watch, after winning double OUA gold in the men and the women. So, tell me about it. CIS Curling. How great was it? What was the environment like? Was it better than the Briar? Do we have any challengers coming out of Laurier that can challenge Jennifer Jones in the coming years?
I don't think any challenges are going to be coming out of Laurier, but you definitely need to look at Alberta for someone that you could definitely see on the world market in the next couple of years. Kelsey Rock is the skip of the Alberta Pandas. They're the Pandas, right?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I believe they are the golden bear, golden pandas. I'm not sure.
Right. So
it's not OUA. Don't worry about it. You're the Golden Hawks. That's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Kelsey Rock is a fantastic skip. She's a 2-time defending world champion. She's been all around the place. She was a silver medalist at the Canada West Curling Championships, and she definitely earned that gold medal at CIS. She is a fantastic curler. Laurier did a good job, a lot better than a lot of people expected. They went double gold at the provincials, but when you go to the CIS market, as you know, going to the Vanier, and as many athletes know, going to the national circuit, it's a lot different.
Right.
So when the women and the men from Laurier went, they definitely put up a fight. The women had a little bit of a struggle at the beginning, but they found their groove. They got their bronze medal. It's the same match that they got last year. And the men improved. The men got a bronze last year, and they got a silver this year. And they played fantastically. 3 out of 4 of those guys were named CIS first team All-Canadians. Yeah. The other guy was the second team All-Canadian. The skip played lights out. And the only reason that they lost, not the only reason, Thomas Scoffin is a fantastic skip for Alberta, but he curled 90% in that final. And if he probably missed 2 or 3 shots, and that's why Laurier stayed in it.
Yeah, I find it very difficult to think about a team that doesn't win a CIS championship, yet has the skill to become 3 of the 4 first-team All-Canadians. I know that's always frustrating in football sometimes when we look at it. Guys that have the skill and deserve to be there, but when you don't win with that much of talent on one team, from talking to some of the guys I'm sure you did after their match, were they just satisfied, a great year, well to put it together and all of that, or was there some frustration about how the gold medal match went?
There was definitely some frustration, but Alberta went in as the top seed, and they don't do the whole rankings like they do for all the other teams, but you've got that sense of, okay, this team's really good, this team's going to probably try to match them, right. But Alberta came in as that team that everyone knew was going to be really, really good, and Scoffin curled 90% in that final, and you don't curl 90% unless you're almost perfect. So the Laurier boys were really pleased. They were pretty impressed with how they played. I talked to the vice Richard curl after. He curled pretty well too. I think he curled about 80% in that final.
Yeah.
And he was really happy with how he curled. He said that he hit the shots that he needed to keep Laurier in it. He felt like the boys really swept the rocks and were really in sync. And he said that they played one of their better games of the entire tournament, and he was happy with how they curled.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you were there to cover it and that you give us such insight because, I had a couple of tweets last week just saying from curling people, thank you for mentioning us. Thank you for acknowledging that we exist because it's one of those, and I don't want to say niche sports because I've said that about some different short sports before, but they're not getting people out, right? And it's nice to hear somebody who is actually interested and covered it. So, before CIS curling came, or just the week of, I guess it was, St. Pat's came. What the heck is up with Laurier and St. Patrick's Day? What is your guys' deal?
I wish I knew what was up with it, but for some reason, always in the Waterloo region, St. Patrick's Day is like that big thing. You could attribute it to the German culture because we do Oktoberfest as well.
Right.
And Oktoberfest is always a big thing in
yeah.
But St. Patrick's Day just gets crazy. Ezra Avenue was probably busier this year than it has been in the last 2 years, and it was cold.
Is Ezra the big go-to?
Yeah.
That's like the hub, eh?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty interesting, and they've chosen that street for a really long time. I was looking through old bound copies of the Cord, and there were copies that were Ezra Avenue had a riot this year, and this was 1970-something or whatever. But it was so far away, but they were still coming to Ezra Avenue because it's that street that's 2 away from the school, but still close enough that everyone can get to. And Laurier is a little different where it's such a small school. We're 1 block. Laurier is 1 block.
Yeah.
So everyone is around the school, so they need that one place where they can all meet up. And that's what Ezra Avenue became. And for some reason, every year in St. Patrick's Day, no matter what the university tries to do, no matter what the student union tries to do, everyone always comes back to Ezra Avenue.
That's amazing. Some of the pictures that you put up were pretty awesome. Do you have any idea the numbers of people that came out to Ezra this year?
The Waterloo Regional Police were reporting between 4,000 and 5,000 people at its peak.
Wow.
And that doesn't include the people that went to the tent. They created this tent party to try to diverge the amount of traffic.
Yep.
But it was still absolutely crazy on Ezra.
See, if we just started serving the odd beer, maybe limiting it to 2 per person at OUA football games, we're going to get 4,000 to 5,000 inside Laurier Stadium, no doubt.
Exactly.
Right away, right? Because people just want to be a part of an environment. It's the same idea as going to an NFL tailgate. That's pretty crazy. Did you get to enjoy St. Pat's at all? I need to know real quick.
No, I didn't. I was actually working for the Court. It's our production night on Tuesday nights, so I was actually out reporting on the lovely drunk people. If you check out, I'm going to put a shameless plug here. If you check out the last issue of the Cord, which was our St. Patrick's Day issue, we actually do this thing called Vocal Cord, where we go up and we ask a hilarious question.
Yeah.
So the day of, we did, what is the history of St. Patrick's Day, and we asked the people that were drinking. I'm not going to mention any of the answers, but you need to check it out. It's pretty hilarious.
Scott Hasty. No. That's pretty awesome. I wanted to ask you as well about the CFL Combine. I don't really want to get too in-depth with it because I'm going to talk to Justin Dunk in just a couple of minutes, but the guys from up there, Chris Aki, defensive back, 40-inch vert, broad jump 10 feet, 11 inches. Dylan Campbell, 4.57, 40-yard dash, 22 reps on bench. Why are you not testing in this kind of area, Shelby? Why is everyone blowing you out of the water up there that's wearing the Golden Hawk logo?
I really don't know. Everyone knew that Chris Aki was going to be this big star this year, and honestly, I've been covering them for 4 years now.
Yep.
And Aki really wasn't that big guy in his first or second year. Everyone knew that he had the stature and the athleticism to go somewhere, but he never stood out to me. But that was also because I was covering a 3-5 team that backed into the playoffs. I'm sorry. But the thing is that no one really saw Aki as that big person until probably last year when he had such a good year and he was a solid defensive back. And then people like Justin Dunk started mentioning how he is so versatile. He could play linebacker, he could play defensive back, he could play anywhere, and he would transition seamlessly. And when he played at the Combine and he tested so well in those skills, and then also he killed all the one-on-one, you're looking and you're like, wow, Aki has a really good chance. His stock is huge right now. Yeah. People are going to want him.
Well, yeah, he's an athletic freak. I remember Laurier came down to do the preseason matchup against us here at McMaster, and he came down and I saw how huge he was and how well he was moving, right? Because there's a difference between being a massive blockhead and being someone who can actually run. And I basically asked Coach Cameron from Laurier, I said, Like, how much is he weighing? Like, what's his deal? What did he do in the offseason? He goes, man, I have no idea, but he's down somewhere around 200. I was like, he looks like he's 240.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he weighed in at this weekend. I'll check real quick here, but that blew my mind that he was down around that. Also, I should mention Leanne Osei, your outstanding woman athlete of the year at Laurier. Tell me a little bit about her, because I've seen her play some hoops in the last couple of years, but she's a pretty special talent, isn't she?
Yeah, absolutely, and she's an amazing woman. The award that they give out, the Outstanding Woman of Laurier, kind of just attributes to athletics, academics, and community involvement. It's been around for 10 years now, and Leanna definitely deserved it. She actually played down in the States and didn't really like it. She came back to be with her family, and Paul Falco, the coach of the women's basketball team, was like, you need to come play for us. I know you haven't played for a couple of years, but we know that you'd be a great addition to our team.
Right.
So she came on, and she was a huge asset to them. She's such a talented person, but she always puts her academics first, and you can see that. I mean, she won the Joy Bellinger Award for the OUA and was the nominee for the CIS, and she completely deserved it. She put her out. She's an A- student. She's great on the court. She's not necessarily that big points person, but there were so many times when they were playing Windsor, when they were playing against Queens in that double overtime game, that Leanna was part of the reason why they were still sticking in it, why they were still getting those points, and why, she was mainly the person that was giving the ball to Whitney Eleanor for those assists. So,
yeah, I haven't had a chance to talk with you at all either about Laurier's women's basketball team and the loss to Queens in the playoffs, because that was kind of similar to McMaster losing at home to Lakehead, despite Jalissa Williams' ridiculousness. The fact that both of these teams, McMaster and Laurier, kind of in the playoffs fell apart at exactly the wrong time.
Yeah, Laurier was supposed to go far, and I think that, and all my bias aside, but I think that if Laurier was in the national championship, Windsor would have had a little bit more trouble getting that national championship. I think that they had a very seamless, easy trip to the nationals, and Laurier was the only one that was able to beat them this entire year, right?
Yeah.
So Laurier lost at the wrong time. They just did not have anything left in the tank. Queens played outstanding.
Queens got hot, definitely. Liz Bogue and Jenny Wright, they heated up at the exact right time.
They did, and they completely deserved that win. They played fantastically. It just sucks when Laurier's like, yeah, we've got this great season, best season in school history, we're going to go far, and then the quarterfinal, Queens Gales come in super hot, and they blow them out. Not blow them out, but...
Yeah, no, it was overtime, but it was very entertaining. Didn't it go to double overtime, too, if I remember correctly?
Yeah,
I was actually watching it while I was calling the Windsor-McMaster men's game. As it was finishing, I had it on my computer in front of me, and I'm trying to call Chris Oliver against Amos Connolly in what was a pretty sweet matchup in the men's bracket as well. Last couple here for you. In 10 seconds or less, quick hitters. You said, my journalist dream is to work for at Boston Globe.
Yes.
Why?
I love the Globe. I think that they're a fantastic paper. Actually, when they were covering the Boston Marathon a couple of years ago, the bombings, they did a fantastic job. They were on it all night. They were going around the clock. They had a full stream of them trying to find the suspects. Their interactive visuals are fantastic. They do a really good job digitally. I just think that they're an all-around good encompassing paper.
Yeah,
I think to be a good paper, you need to have like the digital online aspect of it, not just the tangible print, and they do it fantastically. Yeah,
Bob Ryan as well, the sports reporter that has covered basketball and Celtics basketball for a long time. He's commonly a guest on Sportsnet 590 The Fan with Bob McCowan's Primetime Sports, and he is like the quintessential American sports writer where he talks way too fast, he has way too much knowledge, he has stories about everybody who's ever played basketball since 1972, and I love his work too. So I agree with you. The Boston Globe is kind of an exemplary work. And talking about online access as well, I'll never forget the video they posted of the Boston Common after they had found the bombers. I don't know if you remember that, but where they showed the entire Boston Common and people doing the USA chant and stuff. Very American, but I'll never forget that because that was kind of a big moment because everybody was kind of under siege for a long time. So,
and the fact that they could actually do that.
Yeah, the fact they could leave their homes. There's some pretty cool stories about people being locked up, though, during that. Like, as much as that was a terrible event, and there's still the trials ongoing right now, the stories that have come out of that, of people like being locked together for 2 days and meeting new people, and I don't know. I find that kind of neat from the human interest perspective. But
for sure.
Last one for you here. Your tweet this week: you've never been to an event until you've experienced a live auction. When did you go to a live auction, and what were you trying to buy?
I feel like my tweets are the reason that I'm on the show.
No, not at all. I'm here for your knowledge, and then I just happen to find these tasty little tweets that I have no idea what you're talking about, and I need to bring them up.
Oh, that's why you favorite them. All right.
Yeah. By the way, if you get anything favorited by OUA Today. It's being used on the show, just to give everyone a heads up. There you go.
All right, I'll know that now in the future.
Yeah.
So the live auction was actually at the Outstanding Women of Laurier dinner. They changed it to a dinner this year, and they decided to do part of the thing with a live auction. And this guy's voice was just so quick, and he was killing it. It was hilarious. So I'm sitting in the back, and of course they put the media like at the back. So I'm just sitting there watching, and I'm like, this guy is awesome.
Typical.
Just sitting here, I'm like, this just made the entire event. The event could end right now, and Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer were about to talk. The event could stop there, and I would have been perfectly fine.
Hey, Tessa, Scott, go for a walk, because the live auction just topped you guys easily. No, that's funny. At Shelby Blackley is her Twitter. Give her a follow if you want to know about live auctions and where she would most like to work. I should also mention before I let you go, I did a live auction for a television once at a McMaster football banquet.
Oh.
It did not go well. It was... I stood up there.
Quick enough.
Yeah, I stood up there and tried to entertain, and it was not entertaining at all. It's all good. At Shelby Blackley, thank you very much, Shelby. We will talk to you soon, okay?
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Shelby Blackley of the Cord. She's the new big boss up there next year, and we'll be sure to have her back on very soon. We are going to get to the OUA Ultimate All-Star Bracket, but right now we need to take the break because right after this, we're going to have Justin Dunk on. He was at the CFL evaluation camp over the weekend. We're going to talk with him a little bit about the happenings down at E-Camp. This is OUA Today on CFMU 93.3.
The road trip. It's freedom. It's exploration. It's about new experiences. And this road trip has been brought to you by Pioneer Bonus Bucks.
I know you see me like some wide-eyed dreamer.
Welcome back to OUA Today, everyone. Marshall Ferguson here alone in studio. No Scott. No Amanda. But I am joined on the phone by a man who, this past week at the CFL evaluation camp while he was there, decided that he needed to show off how big his pecs are because he's Justin Dunk strong. Justin, 9 reps. What the hell?
Is that good or bad, do you think?
That's amazing. I don't know if I ever did 2.
Well, you see, I got challenged on Twitter by, actually, the Ticats beat writer, Drew Edwards. He said over under 1, so I thought, I didn't want it to blow up into this big thing. I was going to shoot this little video and just tweet it at him so we could see it, right? And
right.
It ends up blowing up, and the guys on the CFL website are like,
hey, this is really good.
this is kind of cool. Let's make this into a CFL Snap post on their other blog site. And I thought, I guess, you want to have some fun with it, whatever. And then it kind of turned into this thing that exploded a little bit. I had no intention of doing it, but I was trying to get 10, I'll be honest. I wanted to get 10.
Oh, I know you were trying to get 10 because halfway through the video when you get to 7, you go, yeah, I got 10. And that was the best part for me. You're just talking about it right now. It makes me think the NFL has Run Rich Run, which I know you were in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. Why not each year have bench, dunk, bench?
Yeah, we could see if you can up the total every year, but man, I feel like as I get older, that's going to be so hard to do,
Old man strength. Old man strength. I remember Mike DeCroce threw a guy out of bounds from Carleton in his last year, and the guy was like some freakishly strong first year that looked jacked, and DeCroce just looked like a little boy. And he threw him out of bounds, like stiff-armed him and threw him. And then I guess DeCroce told me the story, I guess a year and a half ago. He said the guy went, what the hell was that? And DeCroce just turned around and went, old man strength, brother.
Classic, man. I like it.
Yeah. All right. You were at E-Camp. That's why I wanted to have you on, aside from being the coolest guy I know. And I found a scratching post. You're talking about Drew Edwards and Steve Melton talking about things. I found a post on them a couple of years ago. It said, while this weekend's Canadian Football League Combine will largely be about numbers, 40-yard dash times, bench press reps, vertical leaps, the most meaningful results won't appear on a spreadsheet or website. Instead, team interviews and one-on-one drills are likely to have a much bigger impact on the eventual fate of the 53 draft-eligible players looking to impress CFL coaches and front office staffers in Toronto. My question for you, Justin, after being there, What is the purpose of the CFL E-Camp?
Yeah, see, I think it's different for each and every guy, Marshall. Now, I know that's not the easy answer, the kind of general answer you're looking for, but I think it really depends on the individual player. So I think the purpose varies from guy to guy. I think for players that maybe have some question marks about how they are as a teammate and how dedicated they are to football, interviews are the most important. And I think for a guy like Jake Hardy pops to mind, a receiver out of Calgary, who had his athleticism questioned. I think, some of these testing drills are important because, you talk to scouts around the league and general managers, and they talk about that there's an athletic threshold that these athletes need to be at to play in the CFL. And you can see it when some of these later round picks get into, a CFL preseason game. At the end of the game, and they're against these American guys, and not that I don't think passports matter a whole lot to me when we're talking some of the top-end guys, but
right.
When we're talking back into the roster and some of these later-round picks, this year's a totally different draft because it's so deep, but you can see the difference athletically, and that's what I've learned over the years is a lot of that scouts are looking for a body type and a type of an athlete that they can coach, and, in one way, I understand that, and in another way, it's kind of sad because you see a guy like a John Surla, who, he was a later round pick and got a chance, and we both know how great a linebacker he was on the field at Western. He maybe doesn't get the chance that he should based on his football production. So I think, in a roundabout way, it just totally varies on guy to guy.
I will never forget John Surla getting called out in that documentary they made of him in the meeting room with the Argos at E-Camp, just going, so what did you put up for bench? Well, 8. Well, why not more? Well, I went down to Florida. So you went down to Florida and you got 8 reps. Yeah. Well, why? Well, I don't know. Like, it was back and forth, and it kind of gave you a sense of the intensity in some of the meeting rooms that go around. But my idea on the E-Camp is, like, we say that the numbers matter, but they don't really matter, and there's different needs for each kind of person going in because scouts need to see different things. But the one-on-ones, you have a very small sample size to be able to prove yourself. Like, I know some of the O-line, D-line one-on-ones and the route running, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the receivers get somewhere between 3 to 6 reps maximum, right?
Yeah, it's not very much at all. You might get a few more than that if you're willing to jump up and maybe not rest a little bit in between reps, or if the coaches want to match up and they put you out there. But yeah, you're not getting likely more than 10 reps. Yeah,
it's scary to think that your evaluation will be based off of that small of a sample size. Now, again, Mayock always talks to the NFL Combine about going back to the tape. Well, I saw this guy, his one-on-ones were great, this and that were great. I got to go back to the tape. That's all it really teaches you. I think that's the takeaway that I get from all of these different E-Camp statistics and the facts that people are coming out with about, hey, this guy did this and this is amazing, is just go back to the tape and find out what he's like as a football player, because I'm going to get into that a little bit later here in the show about my kind of views on the E-Camp and its place in terms of scouting and all of that. But I think that that's kind of where it's at. What's the weirdest interview question you've heard out of a CFL interview room?
Oh, man. It's almost funny that as the years go by and I cover the event each year, the questions get kind of more boring and boring.
Yeah,
in a way.
You're a seasoned vet, Justin.
Yeah, but you would think that each year some teams throw out some different things. But I guess the weirdest one I heard the first couple of years covering the Combine was, would you rather be a cat or a dog, and why? And that might not be the weirdest question that people would think you would get, but I would like to know why the team is asking that and what they get from that, but I don't think you'll ever find that out.
Yeah, again, there's some weird ones out there. I've heard that that's kind of a typical one, but yeah, if you answer cat, is there any way that goes well for you?
Oh, well, I think so, because it's just about explaining why you pick the cat. I can see
if you can explain it, that's more important than what you chose. Okay,
exactly, for having cat-like reflexes, or actually pops to mind. Jordan Yance was asked, the quarterback from Manitoba was asked in one of his interviews this weekend what he would do on a night if he took his girlfriend out for a night on the town. So that's something you.
Hey, let's keep the girlfriends out of this CFL.
Yeah, but you maybe if I'm sitting there, that would throw me for a loop. So yeah, there's some interesting ones, but to be honest, it really just seems like the teams really generally want to get to know a guy a little bit, and then maybe they'll get into some of those questions like Surla got from the Argos. They're known for being kind of vicious in that process.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. And the idea that if you get asked that question, I just love the fact that guys would clearly just say things in interviews that are not who they are in order to get positive feedback. Like, if I went out with my girlfriend, we would drink 4 liters of water in order to maintain proper homeostasis inside our bloodstream, and then we would probably be in bed by 9:30, and we'd wake up by 6 and go to the gym together. That's a perfect night for me. It's like, no, that's not what your real answer is, Jordan. That's you live in Manitoba. You get to do all sorts of fun things at night. That's all good. You go to the Jets games and scream random things at Joe Thornton and different people. That's what your job is. The question for you I have next is Canadian quarterbacks, which again is a worn out one, and again as a seasoned vet, you're probably tired of answering as an ex-quarterback, and now I'm an old man media ex-quarterback like you, so might as well go through with each other real quick. Andrew Blackley, Heck Crichton Award winner, 4.74 40, 4.47 shuttle, 7.31 3-cone drill. Why does the CFL keep inviting quarterbacks to E-Camp when we know there's no chance of any of them getting signed or having a serious look? Because we're being evaluated against some of our peers. They only invite 2 to the actual E-Camp, and they're basically arms. But if they're just arms, just say that they're arms and don't dress them up and make them test and do everything else.
Yeah, but the CFL is never going to say that for PR reasons, right? And in recent years, some of the guys that have shown up have gotten chances. You know, a Brad Sinopoli, a Danny Brannigan,
Brad's a good one.
A Kyle Quinlan right there at McMaster. So I don't think they're necessarily just an arm. And I think it's a good experience, you know, even if they're maybe not being looked at seriously. But you never know, because those 3 quarterbacks have had a chance. And for me, you know, Andrew Blackley threw the ball very well. And you hear some whispers around the league, you know, about teams liking him and teams liking Jordan Yance because of his size. But the problem, the issue at the heart of this problem is with the Canadian quarterback is that they don't count towards the ratio at all. And you have so many American coaches, and for whatever reason, they think that bringing up that guy from a Division III school and letting him develop is a better idea than bringing in a Canadian quarterback. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons is because of the media. Because when that Canadian kid is on your roster, like a Danny Brannigan, you know, and talking to some CFL people about Danny when he was on that Toronto roster, it was questions about him every single day, because that was back in the Cleo Lemon days. And you know, Danny couldn't get a sniff at that point. So it's about that they just don't count towards the ratio. You know, I've had teams say, well, you know, if we dress a Canadian quarterback, we should have an extra designated import spot, or, you know, we should make a spot for a Canadian and allow a team to carry a Canadian quarterback on the roster that does not count towards your number all year and doesn't count towards a salary cap, and he can make the minimum salary in the CFL, which is $50,000, and had that time to develop. And I've been told there's a few teams that do that. So I think it's finding the right rule to allow a Canadian quarterback in the league, and even though it shouldn't matter. Like, my example this year is Brandon Bridge, and I know this is a long-winded answer, but Brandon Bridge is one of the top-ranked, you know, depending on the site you look on or the guys you trust or the scouts you talk to, he's the 6th-ranked quarterback in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
So clearly they're not looking at his passport. Now, it's a stretch. You know, I've had it suggested to me from CFL scouts that Brandon Bridge would be looked at as a receiver north of the border when he's the 6th-ranked guy in the NFL. So, you know, when I think about that, it doesn't make any sense. And as a former Canadian quarterback like you, it frustrates me to no end.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's, you know, that's why I brought up the question and framed it like that. Is I wish that we all had an equal opportunity and we had a reason to drive and to strive for these things. But I didn't go to CFL evaluation camps. I was invited to the Toronto regional one. And I told the CFL that I would go and I would throw, because I love football, I love throwing the ball, I love being around talented receivers, but I know you guys aren't taking a realistic look at me, so why would I want to do all of the testing? So I didn't do any of the tests, and that might be a bad perspective on it, and you can say whatever you want about that, but with the current situation the way it is, unless we make changes like you just talked about, there's really no drive for a guy like me to try and crush myself to get through that stage to make the league. And that's my opinion, and I'm sure I'll have people that'll disagree with that, and in any way they can. But my thing with Blackley is, like you're talking about guys like him, he can spin it. He's athletic. He's been a winner at Calgary under a questionable circumstance where Blake Neal might have been headed out the door. Yet he has all of these intangibles. He's a great player. If there was one guy who was going to get a look, it seems like every year we go, oh, this is the guy. He might get a chance. And then nothing. Like there's always this hype in spring. And then when May comes, it's like, oh, he got invited to a camp. And then it's like, oh yeah, he got sent home second week of June because that's what's supposed to happen, is what a lot of people think. I just find that very frustrating, like you do. But we'll move on to Chris Aki here. He was you put out a thing saying he was a kind of a combine monster. Vertical 40 inches, broad 10 feet 11 inches, 3 cone 709, 40 467. Comparables, you think, for Chris Aki in the league right now? The ones I could think of were kind of a Mike Edom and an Andrew Liu mixture. Do you think that's accurate, or?
Yeah, I think it's right in there, and it's interesting because Aki talked about, being a Mike Edom type. Now, Mike Edom was a little faster and maybe had a little bit more of a burst in some of those testing drills, but Chris Aki is bigger than Mike was at the combine, because I remember the question about Edom was, well, is he big enough? And it turns out that he's put on the weight and he's just fine. And those guys to me seem very similar. Andrew Liu, he's a little bit different. I don't think he has kind of that same type of body and maybe the same type of burst. But I think he's more of a Mike Edom in recent times anyways. And Chris Aki, man, is a freak. I had an idea that he would put up, some good numbers, but I was very curious to see his 40 because he ran in the 4.9s at the 2014 East-West Bowl.
Yeah.
So I knew that was going to be a big event for him coming in, as whatever your perception is of the 40, these scouts, they put some importance in it because all the American guys can come in and they can put down good time. So Chris running that 4.6 was very big for him. He came out in linebacker drills that he admitted he's never done before, and he was beating guys off the line in pass rush drills, getting to the quarterback with ease. He was running the bag drills and all the different types of individual drills he did with linebackers. He just looked so smooth, and as a DB moving around out there, in the 215-pound range like he is, you don't even think that he weighs that much because he moves. He's so light on his feet, man. Like, I think Chris Aki put himself in the first round with what he did at the Combine.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just talked with Shelby Blackley from the court up at Laurier there, and we talked a little bit about him because she has some personal experience. And I said, when he was down here in the preseason, I thought he looked like he was 230 pounds. He weighed in at 208 this past weekend. Like, he moves like a guy that weighs 180 and looks like he's 230 and he's 208, right? Like, that's, and I think the versatility that you find in a defensive back linebacker mixture like that is what every single defensive coordinator in the CFL wants, because then you have the ability to throw a guy at Sam, then he can drop back to free safety, he can rotate, he can slide out to the flats, he can do everything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost the case of, in Hamilton there, you look at Craig Butler, he maybe didn't have the measurables that Chris Aki or Mike Edom does, but that's something that Craig Butler was able to do out in Saskatchewan. Now he's more of a free safety in Hamilton, but he has the ability to come down in the box and play at that will linebacker spot as well.
Yeah, he was a very special talent. And again, another guy like that's trying to kind of become like that next step to Craig Butler would be Mike Daly, right? That came out of here. He's trying to become kind of that thicker body, rotationary type guy that can be a part of it. Also, I got to mention, I sent out a tweet that Justin was joining the show while I had him on. Being the consummate professional he is, he retweets it during the show. Yeah, I know you were only on Tim and Sid once, but I had to give you horns just because I missed them already, and it's only Monday. It's the first day. It's the first day without Tim and Sid. Justin, I literally have no idea what I'm going to do from 1 to 4 today.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Normally, I work a lot at night at Sportsnet, so normally during the day when I'm working away on my articles or whatever, I got Tim and Sid on in the background. So today, I do know Greg Brady and Andrew Walker. They do on the radio show, but yeah, it feels like something's missing.
I know it does, doesn't it? And it's, again, Tim is our guy, and I love Sid in every way. I think Sid's amazing as well. But I just don't know what I'm going to do. And I don't know if you're like this too, but I found this yesterday when I was preparing this radio show that you're listening to right now on CFMU 93.3, is that I was uncomfortable without having either a podcast or a game on in the background. Like, I turned on the Duke Gonzaga game while I was working on the show prep, just for the sake of having a voice. Like, are you a guy like that? Because I know you've been a sports head like me for a long, long time.
Yeah, I always like to have something going on. I mean, every day I make sure I have my NFL Insiders on, or Past the Draft, or a podcast like you. Just something that I feel like I'm picking up info as I'm working.
Are you a big basketball guy too? You have any interest in basketball?
Yeah, totally. I mean, at Sportsnet doing the highlights, you have to know every single sport. So, and when we were back at the Score, man, we were huge for doing college basketball and doing it as much as we could. And they loved the NBA over there. We had court cuts and we had court surfing. So you got to be into your ball, especially at the Score.
The guys that came out of there that have gone on to become the starters that were the Basketball Jones, the drop that they put out on Friday is the highlight of my week. Every single week. If you're listening to this and you're a hoops head like Justin and I, and you want some quality basketball laughs, just look up the starters and listen to the drop. It's a podcast they put out every Friday. All right, let's do a couple of quick hitters here. It'll get you out on time. You've been very gracious with your time, and I'm sure you're very tired from following around all these CIS athletes all weekend. So, the Tavon Campbell that ran the 4:35 electronic time, what is a guy like that from Toronto doing in Regina for university?
Oh, that's a great question. How do you let him get out of the city?
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the problem with the UOT program down there. But oh my, you knew he was going to run fast. But most importantly, and I said this in my recap video on CFL.ca, he translated it onto the field. Had the only interception of the day in the one-on-ones. Showed he can cover. Teams are looking at him as a legitimate starter at the field corner spot.
Yeah, it was a pretty good pick too. I actually watched that video and saw. Ho-hum, another year, another Laval offensive lineman in the top 5. Is that what we're headed for with Danny Grew?
Yeah, certainly, man. This guy was awesome in the one-on-ones. I could see Danny Grew getting an NFL shot. I mean, I was there last year and watched David Foucault, and he won a number of reps in a row, and Dylan Ainsworth kind of caught him on one and ran him over. And I think Danny Grew is almost a little more polished at this point than David Foucault. So the situation the Carolina Panthers were in last year with their offensive line was pretty dire, but I could see Danny Grew getting an NFL shot.
Yeah, definitely. Who is this year's CFL Quadzilla?
Ooh, Quadzilla. Wow, you're putting me on the spot here.
Hey, I listened to the show. Okay, I know what you're interested in.
Wow, man. There are some big guys. Quadzilla. I don't want to say there was a guy at the CFL Combine that was like Quadzilla, because Quadzilla at the NFL Combine was in a category all on his own. So I'll maybe leave that one alone for the CFL guys. You got to be in a certain category, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I was looking for like the skinny, weak-legged white guy like me that you could just say he was the CFL equivalent of the Quadzilla, but that's okay. How crazy is Archambault's shuttle time put in perspective with the other linebackers?
Yeah, that was impressive, because the book on Archambault coming in was, this film was good, he has good football sense, and you wanted to see what he could be as an athlete in some of these athletic tests. So for him to be able to put that shuttle time down shows that he can move side to side. And I think more importantly what it shows is that he's started to change his body, and he still needs to continue to do so. He needs to get down weight to be able to move around on this big field in the CFL.
Yeah, completely agree. What was your best test aside from bench? Because we clearly know you broke Guelph records when you were there after watching that video from the weekend. What was your best test when you were at Guelph?
Wow. When I was at Guelph, when we did testing at Guelph, or when I was at the Combine?
Either. You can look at either, but I want to know the one that, like, I know for me, shuttle, because I sucked at every single other test, was like, yeah, this is my thing.
Yeah, see, my personal favorite at Guelph was when we did our weight testing, when we did hang cleans. For whatever reason, I feel like that's a more explosive lift than even doing bench, because your whole body's involved in. There's a lot of explosiveness there, rather than just sitting down on the bench and, popping the bar off your chest.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I really like hang cleans when we got into that testing, because our requirement for the 1,000-pound club was bench, squat, and clean.
Yeah.
And I always love doing the cleans for whatever reason. I know that's not a normal combine test, but I'll go with that one.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And again, you were a pretty explosive guy when you played before you hit old age. So no. Last one for you, and I'll try not to make this too long of an answer. But Guelph uniforms. You're on the show. I wanted to give you a chance to kind of speak your piece in 30 seconds or less, we'll say.
Yeah, and man, I feel bad because I didn't get to join the show on that when DJ was on. See, my issue with this whole thing is that the CIS in general, and I just don't want to go the OUA route, but they need to grow the game and get better. And if anything, what Guelph was doing was putting a name out there and getting a name out there and just building a brand. I mean, I've said this to a number of people. If a student athlete was going to the University of Guelph because they had 6 cool helmets and 7 wicked jerseys and all these different pant combinations, then that's not the type of guy that you want going to your school. But
right.
It's just a part of the package, and I honestly really don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, Greg Marshall seemed to have no problem with it down at Western, and, Carleton, they were starting to have some different uniform combinations and starting to go that way too. I think there was totally nothing wrong with that. I honestly don't understand the decision from the OUA standpoint, because I think it's all about growing this game, growing this product, man. And me and you have both obviously played it and love the CIS University experience, and I want to see the game get back on national TV. And now, I'm not saying uniforms do that. I'm just saying the thinking behind outlawing it does that in terms of limiting yourself. You should never be limiting yourself in any respect if you're a CIS football program, I believe.
Yeah, that's good to hear from you, because I know you're a guy that has direct effect with that. But we'll get you out of here on that. You've been very gracious with your time, and I need to get angry about something and do a Sid rant right now, so I'll let you go. Okay, Justin?
Awesome, Marshall. Appreciate you having me on, man.
No problem. Look forward to having you back soon. Thanks, brother.
Cheers.
Justin Dunk of all sorts of stuff, CFL.ca, among his...
Time. It lets us plan to dream. Plan to learn. Plan to succeed. Plan to invest. Plan to enjoy. Plan to help. Plan to leave to others. The Plan by Investors Group, helping you provide for the people you care about, now and over time.
All right, Narinder, I'm done. I ran over. What mic you on, buddy? Number 2. Narinder from Sertal Radio. I meant to give you some intro music because I wanted to have you get pumped up to be on, but then I ran long like every day, which I know you're used to by now. But
no worries. That's fine. You do a great job, man, doing your show. It's an excellent show.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And we also listen to your show as well, because even though I'm not familiar with the music that you play so much, it's party music.
Yeah, of course.
It is. It's a party.
Course.
Like you host.
We want to wake everyone up. Right?
You host a 10 to noon party every Monday morning.
You got it.
That's awesome. Cricket World Cup.
So this was the World Cup. Australia just kicked ass. New Zealand didn't lose one match throughout the whole World Cup series. Then I don't know what happened to New Zealand. They just got annihilated by Australia.
Really?
Australia won. This is their 5th World Cup win. And they just couldn't even let these... They were just dropping on top of the balls that were coming.
When I talked to you last Monday, you were saying New Zealand is so dominant. There's
no
absolutely
kidding.
You didn't even look at the semifinal as a challenge, and you said, but the other one was between Australia and India, was it?
Australia and India.
Yeah.
And India lost against Australia.
How long did the final take?
So this final started again around 11:30. This one was not too bad. It finished around 5:30 in the morning. Around that time, So, but it's amazing. I couldn't believe the way Australia played. Now the captain, it's his last ODI, which is one-day international.
Yeah.
So he retired. So it was good. He won, and they won right in Australia, right?
Yeah.
So, which was a great thing for Australia, but New Zealand, I could not believe it. Their top batter, when he was batting, he was knocked out in the first, or second or third over, something like that.
Really?
Yeah. And these were the same team, New Zealand, that made 393 runs against West Indies. Yeah. In the semifinal.
Okay, explain to everyone quickly how 393 runs happen. How is that a thing?
So what you do, you've got wickets on each side. So when the person bowls, which is the pitcher, the batter, he hits the ball. If it goes outside the boundary, it's 6 runs automatically. You don't have to run back and forth. If it runs or the ball gets hit somewhere, anywhere in the field, you make runs back and forth as much as quickly before they come back and try to hit those sticks, which are called wickets.
Was the name of the person who was pitching or starting to play each time named Ricky Romero? Oh, what? Jays talk.
Oh yeah,
Jays talk.
Yeah.
Blue Jays season.
I don't know how the
393 runs.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how they would do how would some of the pitchers here would do against...
Well, what's the movie that had the guys that were cricket pitchers? Oh, why is that escaping me right now?
I forget the name. I know what you're talking about.
That was a great movie. It was the 2 guys that came over and got signed by the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Exactly.
Please let us know on Twitter. At Marsh2Fergs, at OUA Today. We'd like to know. What's your favorite moment of the World Cup? Be the last one for you before I steal another 2 minutes of your show. Yeah,
most
World
famous
Cup
moment?
Yeah, just like what's your favorite moment in World Cup cricket? Because I know you're into it, and
when Guptill did his 393 against West Indies.
Yeah,
that was the 300. He in the last 5 overs, he was hitting like 4s and 6s outside the park, and they were just whipping him the ball, saying, "Here, take more runs if you want." That's it.
That's awesome. I would love to see cricket become a mainstay in OUA athletics.
It is next year. This year was the T50, which is the 50 over.
Yep.
So next year is the T20 World Cup, which is being held in India.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to that. I think that we should get the OUA on it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it's a university sport.
Oh, it'd be nice.
Why not, right?
Because you have so many international students, right?
There's so many. It fits perfectly with the brand of everything, multiculturalism, and because obviously we're too boring around here. We just watch baseball, football, and watch people smash into each other. But having a different, diverse sport like that, I find really, really interesting.
Cricket is a little bit, when you look at it, it looks boring.
Yeah.
But then when you get into it,
when you understand it, right? It's like rugby. People show up to rugby games all the time and go, "I don't understand what's going on."
Yeah.
Well, once you learn, it's great. Right?
That's right.
I think that's a lesson to take away from it. Narinder, thank you, man.
Thank you.
And thank you for letting me steal extra time out of your show.
Worries, no worries. Always a pleasure.
I'm going to finish the show up right now for you, as Narinder has been kind enough to give me a couple extra minutes. I'll leave you with this. We are back next Monday at OUA Today, at Marsh2Fergs on Twitter. If you'd like to reach out to the show at all, Scott and Amanda, I expect, will be back next week, and they will make me look much better than I actually am. But 19-year-old university student Amina Lawal has been missing for 10 days. That's a tweet that I sent out last night. We will send it out again. It's important. People need to be aware of what's going on outside of your local sports sphere. So I feel like that's our responsibility to share that. And Justin Schwig. I'm going to tell you a quick story about a guy named Justin Schwig. Schwig, a Kingston native, was a fifth-year student who had recently completed a degree in biology and was about to begin a phys ed degree. He played football with the Golden Gales in Kingston since his first year at Queens and worked as a bouncer at the Brass Pub on Princess Street in K-Town. On the night of March 24th, 2005, Justin Schwig was at AJ's Hangar, since renamed Ale House. Shortly after midnight, he and several of his friends were on the second floor of the bar when a man approached them around 2 a.m., enraged, believing that something had just been thrown or spilled on him from the area where Justin and his girlfriend were standing. The angered man confronted Schwig and, after a brief confrontation, pulled out a knife and stabbed Schwig 6 times, twice in the neck area, twice in his left arm, twice in his upper back. Justin Schwig, the football player from Queen's University, March 24th, 2005, died 2 hours after being stabbed in hospital, surrounded by his parents, friends, football coach, and teammates. Mackenzie left the bar, the guy that stabbed him, and went to his parents' home in Brampton, where he remained for about 10 hours. After hearing the police were looking for him, he turned himself in the next day and has been in custody ever since with a life sentence. Justin's parents, Christine McLaughlin and Leon Schwig, weren't in court during the sentencing, but excerpts from their victim impact statements are posted on the Kingston Whig Standard's website. Justin's father's statement recalled the moment he found out about his son's death. I received a call from a friend from Kingston at approximately 4 a.m. on March 25th, 2005. I was told there was an incident at AJ's Hangar and that Justin was hit with a beer bottle. I called the hospital, identified myself as Justin's father, and I asked if I could speak with my son. I was told that I would have to wait. His mother was out getting coffee and she would speak to me when I got back. When I asked how Justin was doing when I got on the phone with my wife, she said it couldn't be worse. Still thinking he was struck with a beer bottle, I asked, "What do you mean?" She said, "He's dead." My mind snapped. I just started screaming. Justin would not have expected someone to act as his murderer did, McLaughlin's statement read. Justin was innocent and naive, apparently his fatal flaw. It would not have occurred to him that anything like this could happen in Kingston, his city. He was so proud to say that he was a local boy, and I believe he would have remained in Kingston forever. Justin likely would have lived nearby and most probably taught at the same high school he attended. He would have taught the youth of our city and nurtured future football players. He would have been an incredible role model. All of that is lost now, and what for? This past week marked the 10-year anniversary of Justin Schwig's murder. He would have been 33 years old this morning. His dad, Leon, released a video of his favorite Justin pictures saying, "Words could never express how much you are missed. I love you, son." On the video podcast side right now, I'm going to leave you with the video that Justin Schwig's dad sent along, because I think it's a poignant story and we need to remember and to avoid crap like that, because that has no place in CIS athletics. And there's a reason the coaches say nothing good happens in a bar after 2 a.m. So anybody listening that's a varsity athlete, be aware and protect your teammates and care about each other. Make sure you take care of each other, because that's what really matters.